Hello everyone and welcome to the Tiger Paw Software Business Building Webinar Series. This is a live webinar series that focuses on sharing industry best practices, helpful business tips, and valuable partner training for VARs, MSP, and technology service providers. My name is James Kernan and I'm going to be your host and presenter for today's call. Today's session is called Tracking Your KPIs Through Dashboards to Drive Profitability in 2016. So it's the beginning of the year, and everybody normally sets goals, and you create that plan for success. And today, I want to show you how to implement your plan, track your goals, and drive more profits through your business this upcoming year. So I anticipate today's session to last for about 40 minutes, and then I'll open up the call for questions at the end. And as a reminder, all sessions will be recorded, and for those of you that registered, you'll get a follow-up email with the recording link. Now let's get started with today's call. So starting off, I want to talk about, what is KPIs? What is business intelligence? What is all this? And I've heard so many different descriptions of business intelligence, and I think we all know why it's important. You can actually use that data to make great decisions in your business, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. And for me, business intelligence is getting the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decision, right? That makes sense. And it's our responsibility, most all of you on the webinar today are all business owners or leaders, and it's our responsibility as leaders to provide the right tools and the right information to our teams. And if you don't do that, you're not going to hit your goals, and it'll make it a lot more difficult to implement your plan. So I wanted to start off and talk about what business intelligence is. So I've been in the technology business for over 25 years. And the last 8 years prior to joining Tiger Paw, I actually worked as a business coach. I worked with thousands of resellers like you all around the world in many different countries. And I can't tell you how many times I started working with a client and I realized they're running their business blindfolded. They didn't know their profitability. They're not tracking the right things, and it's hampering their ability to make the right decisions. We all know what happens in sports if you take your eye off the ball, and we all know what can happen if you're driving down the road and you take your eyes off the road. So the reality is, it's all about keeping score. And if you don't keep score, it's difficult to figure out who's winning and who's losing. So this is a great quote I wanted to share with you. I'm a big sports fan. I love Vince Lombardi. And there's a quote he had that really rings true to my heart and what I wanted to share with you today. He said, if winning isn't everything, why do they keep score in the first place? So it is about keeping score, and if you don't keep score, you can't win. So today I'm going to show you how to keep score. So I mentioned that most of you hopefully have started the year off with a plan. You've dusted off the old business plan, you've updated it, you've created some new goals, maybe some on the personal level, but most of you on the professional level for your businesses, and you rolled those out to your team. My question is, how are you tracking those? First of all, did you roll them out to the team? Right? And secondly, how are you tracking them? And more importantly, how is your team tracking them? Do they know what's expected of them, and is it easy for them to pull up that information? So I wanted to share a little golden nugget with you. Every time I present, I like sharing a couple valuable things that I think you can take home and implement with you. But around creating goals and achieving your goals, it's all about accountability. And there was a little gold nugget here. It's 3 simple steps to follow to be successful that I remember reading years and years ago as a college student when I read this book, The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. It's a very simple read. For those of you who've never read it, highly recommend that you do it. But one thing that stuck with me throughout all those years was this saying that Ken was talking about. There's 3 simple steps of managing people and holding them accountable and achieving your goals. The very first one is you've got to set goals and expectations in writing. The second one is training your employees to meet and exceed your goals and expectations. And then number 3, holding them accountable. So let me go through that again. Setting goals and expectations. So we all normally do a pretty good job of that. I think one thing that I've seen in the past, a lot of people just do it verbally. Hey, I want you to do this, but we don't put it in writing. So half the time our employees don't understand what the expectations are, or they'll forget it. So it's always important to put that in writing so it's clear to them what they're supposed to do and how they contribute to the big picture. Number 2, it's an area that I'm guilty of it too, but most of us really struggle with. It's training your employees to meet and exceed your goals and expectations. Okay? Training your employees. You got to train your employees on the tools. You got to provide the right resources, and you got to make sure they know how to get there, right? And then number 3, most of us, whether we like it or not, we're forced to be good at this. We hold people accountable, and it's that sink or swim. If you don't do the first 2, it's that sink or swim. Hey, if you're not successful by X date, I'm going to get rid of you. And accountability is really easy if you do the first 2. It's actually fun. I love holding people accountable because it's not negative. Most of it's positive if you do number 1 and number 2 correctly. So it's just simple communication. When you see them doing something right, say something about it. And I like praising in public. And if they do something wrong, I like pulling them in the conference room and scolding them in private. But it's just simple communication. You don't need to raise your voice. Just communicate to them whether what they're doing is right or wrong. Number 2 is incentives. A lot of people are highly motivated by money, and they or some other type of recognition, whether it's a gift card or something. But people like incentives, and you can tie compensation to them meeting and exceeding your goals. And the other part I wanted to share was about transparency. Now, when we set goals and expectations, and I'll show you some KPIs and dashboards when we go through the presentation, I like making that visible to everybody. I want everybody to know how everybody else is doing. Don't keep it a secret. It shouldn't be private. Now, there's certain things that you want to keep confidential, like compensation, maybe net income, or bonuses, things like that. But I'm talking about transparency around people hitting their goals, productivity goals. That's really important because when you create that transparency, it keeps people motivated on a regular basis. I'll show you a little bit more about that as we go through this. So today's agenda is pretty simple. I'm going to go through systems and technologies and tools very briefly. Then we're going to talk about metrics for success. And then we're going to talk about dashboards. And then again, at the end, I'll open it up for some Q&A. So let's start off with the systems, technology, and tools. All right. So again, I've been in the industry for a long time, and times are changing. 10, 20 plus years ago, everybody talked about the same 3 things: people, process, and technology. But your people, they still are important today. Don't misunderstand me. But back then, they were even more important because it's been a people business. Most of you are in service businesses. That's what you focus on. That's where you make the most money. But your people drive the business. And what's awesome about now, technology has caught up to things. And the technology here, if you can see my mouse, is the foundation of every business, or should be. Because from the technology platform you run your business on, that drives the processes, and that drives the people's behavior. So these things still work hand in hand. The order just kind of flipped now in today's times because these tools are more affordable. There's a lot of great tools out there. Most of you are not using Tiger Paw because you're prospects to us and so forth. Some of you may have used it in the past and you want to come back. That's great. But we have a huge ecosystem. There's a lot of good tools out there. And the key thing is you need to master what you have. I'm a big fan. I'm here with Tiger Paw because I love this tool. I'll go into lots of reasons why I love it. But one of the key reasons is the partner ecosystem. And the key nowadays is when you're running your business on a tool, you got to have the other tools in your business talking to it. So the integrations and passing that data back and forth electronically is critical. Tiger Paw does a great job of that, and that continues to grow each and every year because all of you use different accounting packages, maybe different quoting packages. You buy through different supply chain distributors and partners and manufacturers. We've got integrations with many of them. So let's talk about metrics for success. That's really the meat and potatoes of today's presentation. So I'll first start off, when I talk about metrics, let's talk about these three things. Number one, what to measure. Okay. Number two, how to measure it. And then number three, what does good look like? And I'll talk about what to measure first. So what to measure, I put the measurement into 4 different categories. There's the sales metrics, there's the finance metrics, there's the operational or service metrics, and then there's the performance metrics, which are the performance productivity that I talked about earlier. I'll quickly go through these. So on the sales side, I'm a salesperson, and I've managed salespeople my whole life. These are kind of second hand for me, but the key thing that I would measure in running a team would be your gross margin, and I like measuring the productivity on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. But most people pay compensation packages based on gross margin, not on revenue, but on gross margin or gross profit. So you want to have your tools track gross margin per rep, and then I like comparing the actual performance to what the goal is. And I would recommend, have your tools do this on a daily basis so you can keep track and keep that transparency in front of your team and also your other departments so everybody knows how everybody's doing. That's a great one. So the gross margin per rep. The next one would be a pipeline, and this is really where business intelligence gets exciting, because if you do it right and you track your pipeline at 30, 60, 90 days out, I've got our system dialed in where I can do predictive revenue based on historical data. I know based on our current forecast and what stage they're at, I know the probabilities, and I can predict what's going to happen in the future. So I know it sounds kind of hocus pocus like, but if you dial in your tools properly, it really works well. So that's a great business intelligence tool, because in order to make hiring decisions and cost decisions here in 2016, you need to know what's coming in the door. And it's great if you can predict ahead of time. The other thing I'd recommend you keep track of is I want to know where the business is coming from, the revenue coming in the door, in these 2 categories. I want to know how much revenue is coming in for new businesses, also compared to the install base, my current customers. All right, so new business or newly acquired accounts, and then your install base. So that's another key thing to keep track of. And I'm also to help monitor progress. I've been around lots of very successful companies, and I want to make progress everywhere I go. And everyone that I work with, and all of you, I would recommend look at things and compare, this year to last year, or last year to the prior year. I like comparing year-over-year trends because it gives you a gauge of what good looks like for you, okay? And then the other thing, which is a very neglected report in data, is the won lost report. Most of us are great when you win something, you do something good. Oh, hooray, I won this deal, and here's why. We're fantastic and we're awesome and all this other great stuff. But I'll tell you what, I learn a lot more about deals that I lose, because I want to know why I lost stuff and share that data with the rest of the team. So you can dial in your tools to share that data, why you won something or why you lost something, and then again, that's something to track and share with your team, because that's how you get better and how you grow. All right, so the next category for all the bean counters or the business owners on the phone, these are big picture financial metrics. Here's some simple ones that are important for our industry. Number 1, cash flow. You want to make sure you're maintaining positive cash flow, and you keep track of that. Number 2 is just an operating profit percentage, okay? You want to keep track of that. The gross margin percentage, your total profit divided by your revenue. You want to keep track of that, make sure that's growing. And then your product margin percentage. Most of you sell a lot of product, and it's actually one of the Gartner predictions for 2016. There's a resurgence of selling product hardware. And that had been dying trend-wise in years past, but it's predicted that's going to continue to or start changing and increase here in 2016. So you want to track your products, your product margin, and then also the service margin. And that's a very simple way, just divide your W-2 labor by your selling price on the services. So those are easy things to keep track of. And then the last one is an important one. It's really your aging. You want to track your days of sales outstanding. That's an old acronym, DSO, for really your aging report. You want to collect the receivables as fast as you can, and that's a good thing to track on a regular basis as well. Some operational metrics. So this is really your service department for your engineers and techs. Most of you on the phone, the biggest cost center that you have in your business is your service department. So these are things that you want to keep track of. I don't have time to really dig into all of them, but utilization is really just tracking your 8-hour day. And for me, I have the mentality, people are on salaries or we pay them by the hour. You know, I expect them to work 8+ hours every day, so I'm not too worried about the utilization. The realization is what is important to me. That's the billable utilization for technical people. You know, most of your technical people are probably your more expensive employees, and you want to get value back and your return on investment. So you want to track the billable utilization. I call that realization. So that's number 2. Work in process. Many of you do projects. You want to be able to track the progress of these big projects. It might be a 3 or a 4-month project, and make sure you're doing your milestone billings. So you've got to track that. Callbacks is an interesting one. Callbacks are if you're going back out to rework something that you already opened a ticket for and you fixed it and it broke again, so that means you never fixed it in the first place, or it could mean other things. But that's a great thing to track because it could be a training thing. Maybe your dispatcher is sending out the wrong person for the job, they don't know how to do it, and you can fix that by training up your team member to learn more about a specific product. To fix it the first time, so you're not going back time and time again. That's how you lose money. The maintenance margin, when with the resurgence of selling more hardware and software, you want to be able to sell the maintenance and the add-on warranties. That's another easy way to pad numbers to your bottom line of and add service dollars to your profit loss sheet. And then a couple other important ones, the average labor price by hour. You want to track that. That's important from a cost center. And then technical services as a percentage of revenue. And then your service revenue to cost ratio. These are all good KPIs to keep track of. And then the last one I wanted to just show you is a performance matrix. This is more of more of a leadership metrics that you can track. Your profit or your revenue per employee, or your profit per sales rep, profit per tech, profit per department, profit per customer, profit per project. Now, you can do paralysis by analysis and overdo this stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I think it's important to keep your eye on most of this data, and if you dial in your tools, you can track this stuff automatically, and these are great things to keep track of so you can make better business decisions in 2016. Like I would want to know what my inbound forecast looked like in my pipeline and what my profit per employee was and profit per sales rep before I hire more sales reps. Do I really need another sales rep right now or not? And these are ways that you can use this data to make the right decision. Okay? So let's talk about how to measure things. And all of you use a lot of different tools. I'll talk about the dashboards as a way, or custom reports as a way to pull this data and track easily. Because for me, we're all very, very busy. And typically the business owner is one of the busiest employees in your organization. We all know that and can relate to that. So if I give you ideas and it's difficult to implement, you're not going to implement it. So I would just recommend let's dial in your reports, dial in your dashboards, because these are easy ways to kind of keep your eye on the ball and make sure that you're meeting and exceeding your goals. So this is actually a screenshot of one of the Tiger Paw dashboards for examples. This is a dashboard for CEOs, and I've got 3 examples in the next couple slides. This first one is for the CEO or the business owner. These are 6 different graphs and charts of things that if I were running your business or I'm running my own business, these are things that I want to keep track of. So back to the pipeline, the top left here, this is the top 10 opportunities that I have going in the company, sorted from the largest to the smallest. The next one is the top 3 sales reps month-to-date productivity. So I want to keep track, again, back in that 30-day cycle, how am I doing so far this month? This is an example of that. This is the company invoice dollars per month. And remember I talked about maybe comparing this month, this year compared to the same month last year as a comparison. So this shows growth, and it's a great thing to share with your team members so they can see that the company is growing. This next one on the bottom left is actually the technical times utilization or billable realization. You want to keep track of that. This is an example of more of just a list view there. This next one is actually the sales orders or service orders estimated compared to the actual hours worked. So this would be more of either an owner or a service manager or project manager looking at projects or the whole service department of your estimates compared to the actual hours, so you can make decisions on that. And then the bottom right one is the more back on the DSO or the aging of the top unpaid invoices. You want to make sure you're keeping your eye on your cash flow, and this is a very simple one. And this dashboard, for example, most of us anymore have 2 dashboards up on your computer nowadays. You can have real-time dashboards just floating on monitor number 2. And as long as you're logged into your tools, it can actually serve this data up on a real-time basis. And what's actually really cool is this type of data in Tiger Paw is not just available to the CEO, it's available to everybody. Based on your security levels and how you set up your tools, you should be able to serve up this same type of data for the executives, middle-level management, or for the employees. This next one is actually for a middle-level manager or a service manager. The top left chart is actually the service order average days open. So this kind of tells you what technicians are doing well. The one in the middle is the top 20 longest open sales orders list view, so you can keep track of that. The aged service orders, the service orders opened in the last period of time, maybe the last day or the last week or the last month. You can keep track of that to make sure that you're following up on those quickly. Your technicians with open service orders in a pie chart, and you can serve these charts up in list views, graphs, bar graphs, pie charts. There's a lot of different ways to serve this data up, so it's all flexible and customizable. This next one is actually for employees, and remember in the beginning of the presentation I talked about, us as business leaders, it's important that we give our team the right tools so they can meet and exceed our goals and expectations that we give to them, right? So this is an example of things that would be pertinent to a technician, and you can customize this based on different department and again the security levels that you give them. But if I set goals for an individual at a technician level, I want to make sure they have the tools just as simple as them looking at a watch and knowing what time it is. They need to know real time how they're actually doing at any moment in time throughout the month. I want them to be able to compare their actual performance to the goal real time. Just imagine how powerful that is. Your team can be more self-motivated and the productivity will go up because you'll make it visible, again, not only to them, but to the peers as well. But this is an example of a floating dashboard that they can have up on their display whenever they're in the office, for example. So the first one is a different example of open sales orders year to date. The second one is projects behind schedule. So you can do it by projects or by tasks or tickets, if they're behind schedule on anything, so it's more of an alert. Open sales orders or service orders in the last 7 days. My top incomplete tasks. The center one is invoice dollars by month. So maybe they're tracking their own commissions right here for you. You're making tracking the goals And actually these incentive programs really easy because you can track all this stuff real time. And then here's an interesting one. This might be for service managers or a technician, but these are the top 10 symptoms year to date of what tickets are coming in for globally. So this would be something good to track if you set your system up like that. Like disconnections to the internet would be the top one for these guys, or a PC blue screen. Those are common problems that they have, and you can track the trends and then use that data again to make intelligent decisions moving forward, so you can fix these things and not just keep fixing the same thing. You can fix the root cause of the problem and make your business more efficient and profitable. So one of the other awesome business intelligence tools is another area of Tiger Paw called the Matrix. And the Matrix is really a very powerful data mining tool that gives you the ability to create these custom reports in a matter of seconds as the business owner. And I live in the Matrix here. I run these reports on a regular basis. Every day I'm keeping my eye on these numbers, so I know exactly what's going on. Now this looks a little busy. I don't want to put everybody to sleep, but just in a nutshell, I created this custom report, and in a matter of 30 seconds there's different primary tables that I can create. This one I'm showing you as just a snapshot of opportunities, but there's literally hundreds of thousands of different list views around accounts and tasks and service orders and opportunities. All the different departments of your business, you can pull data out and pull it up in a list view and sort it and analyze it anytime you want, real time. This is an example of a pipeline report over a certain period of time that has a percentage of probability of closing of over 35% at a certain stage, like stage 5 and above. Here at Tiger Paw we have 7 stages, from start to close. Most people have about 4 stages, but I want to be able to track each one of these opportunities based on probability and based on where they're at in the sales process. And again, I can predict revenue by doing it that way. Here's another example of a report. Tiger Paw actually has over 600 different canned reports right out of the box, and you can tweak these as well if you want, but this one is actually served up. It's another form of a sales forecast. It's a different view. Many of you like these the list views that have the charts available as well. This one's a little bit of an eye buster, but basically what we're looking at is all opportunities that I have open, the total number that are based on 0 to 30, 30 to 60, and so forth, total expected revenue, in a list view here. Here's the top 10 opportunities listed on the top right, and then you can actually click on any of these 7 stages and drill down. For example, in the green here at this stage, I can drill down. There's 816, and if I double click, I'll go down and be able to look at the 816 and drill down deeper into one unique opportunity. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk about what good looks like. So I've talked a lot about goals and KPIs, and you always can compare yourself to your prior performance last year, for example. I always encourage you to do that. But also another great tool is comparing yourself to your peers. Okay? So Tiger Paw is part of many different communities. We have a huge ecosystem. We're part of all these great coaching groups like Robin Robbins and True Methods and TAG, and also the Taylor Business Group. This is information that Taylor Business Group actually shared at one of our conferences that I'll share with you today, but it's just a quick gauge of what good looks like in your organization. So the first one, sales expense. These are all just rules of thumb that you can use to help manage your business, but the sales expense shouldn't exceed 10% of your overall total revenue. Your administration expense should not exceed 8 or 15% of your total revenue. Service utilization. The goal there, remember I talked about realization, your billable utilization. What good looks like is 75% billable. You want 75% realization. Managed service profitability. Many of you are managed service practices, and what's a good goal to shoot for? The industry average of what good looks like is 65% gross profit. Okay, so 35% cost. A good gauge for service salaries are not to exceed 33% of your total service revenue. And then net income, the goal for most organizations for a net income would be 10% of your revenue. And services should not be more than 50% of your revenue, or should be more than 50% of your revenue. That's assuming that you sell products as well. That's a good thing to shoot for. And then monthly recurring revenue should be more than 50% of your total service revenue and cover 100% of your fixed costs. So, when I was a business coach, one of the first things I did was an assessment. We created goals, and one of the first goals that I love to do was, hey, what's your monthly number of fixed expenses across the board? How much money do you need to bring in order to pay 100% of your fixed bills? And let's just say that's $50,000. Okay, great. Well, then your monthly recurring revenue sales goal is $50,000. Because wouldn't it be great on the first of every month, you start the month from scratch and you know that all of your bills are already covered? That would be fantastic. And there's more than just managed service revenue. There's so many other things that you can do monthly recurring revenue on, security and staffing and cloud, hosting. There's a lot of great things that you can repackage your other goods and services in the form of a subscription revenue to cover your fixed expenses. So that's a good thing to shoot for. And then the service department profitability, your goal there would be 50% profit. Okay? So my encouragement is take off the blindfolds, focus on your goals, use your tools, use your dashboards, and use your data to make the right decisions, and keep score. It's all about keeping score because that's how you win. And when you win, you get what you want. All right? So just to summarize, I went through the systems, technology, and the tools. We talked about the metrics for success, some examples there. I showed you a lot about the dashboards and the matrix and the reports. So really the business intelligence way to track these KPIs and the metrics, right? And my encouragement is do something with what I shared with you today. Execute. Let's take action and do something on it, okay? But wait, there's more. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about Tiger Paw. I've got a couple quick slides. I want to explain Tiger Paw is really a platform that you can run your entire business on. And you, the business owner, know that one platform for all your departments and all your employees. And again, I can't tell you, when I was a business coach, this is an example of like a 5-siloed department business. Marketing's on one tool, sales is on a different tool, operations on the different tool, service has a different way to track tickets, and then you've got a different third-party accounting package. How do you pass data back and forth to that? It's almost impossible. There's so many redundant keystrokes that go on in any small business, it drives me crazy. So what's awesome about Tiger Paw is it's one platform for all departments and all employees. And the best part of it is you as the business owner, you've got intelligence on the big picture. You can drill down into any data, anything you want in every single department. All right? Everybody's in the one database on one platform. And you've got other third-party tools that you use that integrate, that pushes data inside, back and forth into Tiger Paw. That's what makes it really powerful. And then more and more people have multiple offices and remote employees, telecommuting employees, or field techs or field salespeople. With the remote tools, either the mobile access, you can remote in to these tools, or you could come in through the portals. There's an employee portal or a customer portal for Tiger Paw. Okay, so that's just a big picture explanation of what Tiger Paw does. Now, one other key fact, there's 3 real points I wanted to make about what makes Tiger Paw awesome. So number 1, automated workflows and central billing. So if you have one platform like I talked about, and all the different departments pass data back and forth, you can create workflows that actually drive tons of hours out of your business. It pulls all these manual keystrokes. At half the time you make errors. You tick off your clients. You make an error on a commission report and your best salesperson quits because they think you're trying to rip them off. you remove this human error element in your business if you can create these automated workflows. And we actually had a client that saved over 75% of their man hours back in the accounting department because they set up central billing and automated payment processing. There's going to be an automated payment processing for those of you that have lots of recurring contracts. That's a great webinar at the end of this month for you to check out. So number 2, sales and marketing. Most of you have bigger technical teams and you need tools to manage the service side of your business. There's lots of great tools that track tickets and so forth, but what really excites me as a sales and marketing professional, I want to grow the business and take the business up to the next level. And the best way to do that is really ramp up sales and marketing. And Tiger Paw, number 1, is the best sales and marketing PSA in the marketplace today, period. So there's ways to automate campaigns. You track everything all in Tiger Paw. You don't have to get all these other third-party products like ZoomInfo or these database import tools, eWeber or MailChimp, Constant Contact. You don't need that because all those email analytics and email blast tools are available. You can send your own newsletters out of Tiger Paw. And the best part of it is it keeps track and creates a journal entry under every single contact of who got that promotion. So my salespeople know, oh, they got the promotion email. They know about this. Or last time I talked to them, their daughter broke their arm and I sent them, a flower basket. When you're managing lots of accounts and lots of prospects, you need to have these tools that people can keep track of the customer relations, of what's going on. And then the last part, I really already talked about the reporting and the dashboards. I love Tiger Paw for all the business intelligence capability that it has. It's really, really powerful. So there's 3 ways that Tiger Paw does business with our customers. We have a subscription model, we have a purchase model, or a lease model. Most of our competitors give you one option and they dictate how you do business with them. We want to make you choose. So we give you options. We also have a cloud product that's coming out the end of this quarter as well. So for those of you that maybe aren't using the right tools, you're not on Tiger Paw today, and you're interested in what I talked about, I want to encourage you to do one thing. So for the first 10 people that email us today, send an email to sales@tigerpaw.com. The first 10 people, I'll give 20% off on anything that we sell you through the end of January, January 29th, and we'll also throw in a free aided implementation. This is a $1,000 value right here on the implementation. So 20% off the product and then also a free aided implementation. And again, our competition charges lots of money for these implementations. So I encourage you to take a look at Tiger Paw, see what it's all about. Let's do a custom demo, and it all starts by you just emailing sales@tigerpaw.com. Okay? So I'm going to open things up for some questions. So the first question that actually came in was, how do you train your customers on Tiger Paw? So that's actually a great question. So Tiger Paw's been around for over 3 decades. We've got over 40,000 users in 29 different countries. And Tiger Paw actually created a whole separate department that's called the Tiger Paw Academy. We have certified trainers on staff. So every new customer that comes on board, we take them through an implementation process, and you're assigned a trainer that will actually walk you through the 14-step implementation. So they're very powerful. The Academy also has, I believe there's 18 sessions. There's 18 different training modules that you can send your managers, or your employees through, and you can keep track of their progress on all of these classes that they take. Their online classes. You watch training videos, read documentation, and you take quizzes because they're all tied to a certification. So it's a great way, for me, there's got to be a purpose behind every activity. And again, I like tracking things, as you can tell. So it's important. I think it's great. Tiger Paw actually has the Academy where you can get certified on the different modules. Okay? So thanks for that. Another question that came in, what about inventory management with Tiger Paw? So that's an awesome question. Inventory management is really one of the unique strengths of Tiger Paw that I believe we do much, much better than our competition. So we're able to track assets, whether you sell lots of products or not. You might say, oh, I don't need the ability to track inventory. I'm a service provider. We primarily do all managed services. Well, if you're doing any kind of hardware as a service, or you have loaners out there, a lot of the managed service providers are dropping equipment into customer locations as part of their monthly subscription. You need the ability to track the serial numbers and the locations there. We have a very strong hold on the telecom and big VARs that sell lots of product. And why is because Tiger Paw does a great job of tracking, through multiple bins, multiple locations, even trucks. There's trucks that hold unique inventory. We can actually track that in Tiger Paw for you. So I didn't have time to go through in detail all the capabilities of inventory management, but I encourage you to reach out to the sales team and let us show you what we can do through a demo. Okay? All right, so another question that says, is there a link to the presentation, or are you going to send out a copy? So actually, I don't send out the deck to everybody. There's actually some good KPIs that you can keep track of. I promised I'll share that with you, and what we do is we record all the sessions, of course, and then an email actually goes out with a link back to one of our sites, and you can watch that anytime you want, and you can do either screenshots or you can just write down the information and pause on that slide for the information that you want. But hopefully you can tell I love this stuff. I love tracking progress. I love using the tools, and when you do it, it makes growing your business easy. And when you train your team members on how to use these tools, it makes you managing them so much easier. It's fantastic. All right. All right. Another question is around what system requirements do you require, and does it require a SQL database? So Tiger Paw actually is an on-premise solution today. For security reasons, we've really designed it like that. It's not a full cloud product today, but we are coming out with an option, again, the end of the quarter, for people that want to host that in the cloud. We have an on-premise solution that if you're running on a Windows platform, so Windows Server 2008 or newer, based on the number of employees or users in your business, you can run it on SQL Express, which is free, or you could run it on Microsoft SQL Server. Many of you might be Microsoft Action Pack subscribers, and you can get that Microsoft software almost for free from them if you subscribe through their Maps program, the Microsoft Action Pack subscription. So I encourage you to take a look at that if you haven't. But it does run on a SQL database, and in Tiger Paw, from a total cost of ownership standpoint, I can attest for you that we have a lower total cost of ownership than most any of our competitors. And I think that's a great point. Another question was, do you have some case studies or business examples that you can share? So again, we've been doing this for a long time, and we've been growing like gangbusters. So for 3 decades, again, we've got over 40,000 customers in 29 countries. This past year was a record year, and the previous year was a record year. So we're growing like crazy, and we're growing because the tool works, and it's helping people make more money, realize their goals, and become more profitable. There's some case study videos that are up on the website. If you visit tigerpawsoftware.com, there's some great case studies and examples that we've got downloaded, where you could search things on YouTube or Vimeo as well. We try to put a lot of that information out on the web for us to share. Okay? It's a great question, but I would check the Tiger Paw website first. There's a lot of good stuff up there. All right? All right, gang. I guess I lucked out and did a thorough job here. I think that's it for the questions. I wanted to thank everybody for your time. You guys, good luck to you. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at sales@tigerpaw.com. We'd love to connect with you. And other than that, have a happy, safe, and successful 2016, okay? All right. Bye now. Thanks, everybody.